Well, first of all, let me formally kick us off here. This is we've got a Circle of Champions Success Story interview here with Yvonne Sucich, and she is I tell you she's a great lady. She is persistent. She gets the deals done, and she's absolute brand new. At least you could say that until about a week ago to the business. And so welcome to the Circle of Champions. You're now officially a member, Yvonne.
Yay! Yes.
So I do have some questions prepared. You're going to be able to see them. It's just a few questions just to kind of keep the dialogue rolling here, but you're not limited to those. If you don't want to answer any of these questions, that's perfectly fine too. But I do want to step through this deal that you just did. And by the way, there's a picture of Yvonne. Isn't she beautiful? What a lovely lady. She lives out of Los Angeles, California. And like I say, newest Circle of Champion member. It's her very first real estate deal of any kind. When I first met her, not too long ago, she had just sat and come to her first real estate investor club meeting. I think she can spell real estate, but she had never done a real estate deal. And sitting out in L.A., she flipped a duplex in North Carolina, sight unseen, all the way across the country. What is that? 33,000 miles. Got seller financing on the deal and made $10,000 flipping a duplex. Sight unseen. Sight unseen. So this is the deal we want to talk about tonight. And first of all, like I say, here's the money. Show me the money. Well, I had to share this. This is a excerpt from the settlement statement. You see that there, line 1303, assignment fee to Yvonne Sucich, $10,000. And when Yvonne sent it to me, she said, "Can you review this?" And my reply was, "Well, your assignment fee looks correct." Is that all you look at?
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
Right. I never thought it was going to come.
I know you didn't, but it's sitting in your bank account now. So
Yep. Yeah, baby.
All right, so here's what I want to do. Let's start here. I got some beginning questions for you, Yvonne, and if you were to share everybody, your background, what prompted you to get started in real estate and apartments, how long you've been involved, and what training have you received? A little bit of background on Yvonne.
Okay, so I worked in mortgage banking about 25 years ago, but I never got into real estate. I worked in collections and foreclosures. I did outside sales. I did a bunch of different stuff, but my degrees are in environmental health, and I can't wear steel-toed boots anymore, so I had to reinvent myself. So I went to an investment club meeting, and somebody knew I wanted apartments because my grandmother had an apartment building when I was younger, but we don't own it anymore. So I was referred to you. I went to one of your little seminars, or your 3-hour seminar, and I signed up for your boot camp. And I went for the weekend, and next thing you know, I'm in it. I didn't believe that you could use other people's money, and somebody else invested in me after that weekend to be an apprentice. So right there, I was proven wrong. And when I went to your 3-hour seminar, I've done property management for less rent in LA. And I think two things that you sold me on was never manage your own units, because I hate managing my own units. And never fix your own property, because I always am fixing something on the property because it's in my family, and then you get emotionally attached. And so those two things that you said, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm on it. And so I did it, and I didn't think it could happen, and I have no formal training except for everything you taught me in the boot camp. I kind of got off track a couple months after the first boot camp, so I went back to another boot camp. And I think that's really good, because you can hear so much more that you don't hear the first time because you're overwhelmed by all the stuff if you've never been. So it's been less than 6 months, and I did a postcard campaign and I got this deal.
All right, super, super. Hold right there because I like this.
Yeah.
All right, so we got neophyte Yvonne here, trained, armed and dangerous. so that's Yvonne's background. Now, here's the property. There's this duplex, and nothing to write home about on this duplex.
No.
I mean, so there it is. I mean, this is the smallest small when it comes to small apartments, and this is just about as plain a building, I guess, you're going to find. So there it is. Everybody's seen an apartment. There's a plain one. All right, now let's get into creating a deal. How did you find this property? What was the situation with the seller? What was the opportunity? And tell them about how you pursued it, Yvonne.
Okay, so I chose states. I listened to you in boot camp where to go, but I chose states where I have family members, so if I had to fly out there, I could see family and use a tax write-off. So that's how I picked my state. And I did a postcard campaign in a couple different areas. And, for the newbies that come in, I was freaking out because first people just wanted, free estimates, free appraisals, how much are you going to give me? So I'd call you constantly, this isn't working, I don't know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. So I got this man, and the woman called, and she said, we're not really interested in selling it because my daughter's getting married this summer, and we're focused on the wedding. So because I was an event planner for 10 years in my life, I kind of switched the conversation, got a little personal, intimate with her, started talking about the wedding, pick your best photographer because you're not going to remember the day. It's going to go by really fast, and the bride will go back to normal. And she said, okay, thank you. And I said, well, just in case, can I get your email so I can follow up with an email regarding this conversation? So she gave me her husband's email, and I followed up with, thank you for your time. If you change your mind, please contact me. Here's my contact information. And I'm always positive, like, have a great day. Thank you for your time. And about 3 days later, her husband contacted me and said, my wife said if we're going to sell the property, we're going to sell it to you. And that's how I got it. And so then it was just immediately doing an LOI. He went for the seller financing. He took option B. And then from then on it was, and how did I figure out the price? I figured out the purchase price. In this area, there was no other duplexes. It was all single-family homes. So I'm not even sure. We just kind of did some comps in the area for a duplex in this neighborhood. And so I put 3 options out there. He picked the second option, and he'd never done seller financing. He inherited this from his mother. It was completely paid off, so he was open to it. And he circled it, and then we put it out there on the buyer the seller generator, buyer generator.
All right, hold on. Okay, good. So you gave the 3 options. What was the, if you don't mind saying, if you don't want to say, that's fine too. What was your purchase price?
My purchase price was $140,000.
$140,000 for that duplex. All right, and then what were the terms of the other financing? What % down was it?
It was 15% down, and then 5% over the 25 years amortized, and there's a 5-year
balloon.
Yes, thank you. I have a head.
And so he chose that option without really any prompting from you. Is that right?
Oh my gosh, he was on it in a minute.
It's like, I got to tell a quick story. I was talking to Yvonne on a Friday afternoon, and she was, it was going to be her first offer. I think this was your first offer, wasn't it?
This was my first offer. This was my first deal. Yes, my first.
And so he talked with her on the phone, and she's got naturally nervous, 1,000 questions, what if. Finally, I said, Yvonne, send the offer. Send the offer. Okay. Then after that, about an hour later, more questions by email. I finally said, send the offer, don't contact me again. Or until you do. tell you, and she sent the offer out on Friday. On Sunday afternoon, I'm sitting at home watching the ball game or something, and I'm checking my emails on my phone, and there's an email from Yvonne, subject line, OMG, they accepted my offer. Now what? Is that a true story, or what? Is that true?
That is so true. That is so true. It was like, now panic mode. What do I do next? Oh, my God.
All right. So now, and you knew all along, well, at first you wanted to flip it. At one point you wanted to hold on to it. I talked you out of that. So you were on this strategy to flip it. So let's talk about, you got a contract. How did you find your buyer? What was that negotiation like? And then let's get into what the closing process was like.
So I found my buyer through the buyer generator. So we put it out on everything, all the websites. And honestly, this buyer I found she checked Craigslist. So that's how she found me. And she happened to be a realtor in that area, but she only bought for herself. She doesn't, she buys for herself. So she had called me and we talked for a while, but she didn't have the down payment because she had her money tied up. So I kept it out there, and then I was like calling you, freaking out because I had to do an extension. Remember, because of my 30 days, I hadn't found a buyer. And I'm like, I'm not going to find a buyer. Oh, my gosh, what's going on? And then, like, in 3 days, I had 3 buyers. And with her, I should have went higher. It was my first buyer flyer, so we did a mock-up of 150, but later you said do 155 in case I had to negotiate down. So 2 of the buyers were at 155, but the other buyer came back at 150. It was the original realtor. She called me like 3 weeks later and said, I keep thinking about this, because in this area there's a big freeway going in the next 5 years. So it's an up and coming where people think it's going to turn around. So she said, I want this, I want it, and we did the paperwork. We signed whatever you told me to do. I can't even remember today.
The assignment agreement.
The assignment agreement. I did the assignment agreement, and at first I was trying to keep this, and you kept saying, if you keep this, I'm dumping you as an apprentice because you've got to let go, you've got to cut bait on your first one. And it was really hard. I really wanted to keep this for whatever psychological reasons, and you just kept saying, cut bait. So we did the assignment, she came up with the money, and she just took it as is. She didn't even negotiate with me. She didn't try to go lower because she knew she was getting a good deal. I probably underdid it, but I wanted to get rid of it.
That's perfect.
And then the closing process was more complicated because when he inherited it, there was some attached land to it, and when we did our due diligence, we found out that there was an attached land that his attorney never filed the separation title deed, so we had to do a survey. So then I had to call my buyer and talk to him about the survey, and the whole way I just kept talking to him every week. And my seller, I kept talking to my seller every week, and my buyer just thought I was so great because I was completely hands-on. The seller thought I was hands-on. Everybody was working together. I told the seller I was assigning it, and he didn't really know what that meant. So I explained to him that I had some financial situation and I couldn't keep it. So I was going to assign it to someone, and she was going to pay me for finding it. And he was okay with that. Remember, that was a whole ordeal. I didn't want to tell him I was assigning it. And I finally got that courage, and that was so easy. He's like, okay, great, whoever's buying it, as long as I'm getting rid of it. And that, everything you say, I mean, it seems so scary, and it seems so, oh my gosh, they're going to back out of the deal. Oh my gosh, they want to sell it to me. What, you know, all these crazy mind games that go through my head about fear. And the bottom line is, as long as someone's buying it, as long as it's closing, as long as you talk to them, they were so easy. My sellers were great. So then he was okay with doing a survey. and he believed he should pay for the survey because it had to do with his mother's estate, breaking that apart. So then we just, we kind of turned, in this state, an attorney is required. So the attorney did everything. The attorney found the surveyor, and then when we did the survey, we found out that the next door neighbor, so we got that all taken care of. And then we had to file another extension because we were coming to the closing date. And then we found out during the survey process, the next door neighbor had poured their driveway 18 inches onto the land about 3 feet. And it was snowing and the weather was bad, so we had to wait a couple days. So we got another extension, and there were 3 options how to solve this problem, but my seller's attorney said, forget it, just hire someone to go out, and they cut the driveway off the property. They just cut it.
There you go.
And the buyer was okay with it, the seller was okay with it, and pretty much just kept in contact all the time, writing emails, including everybody, including the buyer, the seller, the attorneys, and then the buyer and the seller met in the attorney's office, and everything closed.
And they sent you a wire for $10,000.
They sent me a wire for $10,000, and I was freaking out, screaming, yeah, baby, I did it, and I just didn't believe it.
You did do it. All right, so I got a question. Now you got that critical first deal under your belt. What's next for you and your real estate business?
So next, I just want to do bigger deals. I want to go find more, and I'm trying to find, a 20 unit that I want to hold on to, because that was part of this plan, to find a seller financing that I can hold on to and continue to wholesale. So I've done some more postcards, but I keep coming across these smaller duplexes. The duplexes and triplexes get kind of thrown in with the apartments. And I'm not sure how people are finding bigger deals, so that's what I'm looking at.
So don't stop flipping whatever comes across your desk.
No, not at all.
Well, what you're telling me is what happens every time. Every time someone closes their first deal, I ask them what's next. The response is unanimously, I want to do a bigger deal. It's the same, right? It's
right.
The same time, just bigger checks. All right, so I got one more question for you. You've got your first deal done, and started from ground zero, brand new. People are listening to this who are have yet to do their first apartment deal. They ain't even trying to think if they want to even do apartments. So, from your heart, what is the single most important thing you learned in this process?
Listen to Lance. Don't be afraid. Just do it. Just pick up the phone, read the script. What's my single most important thing? Just do it. Because it's now, what sucks is I quit putting offers out there. Or I did the postcards, but I think it's like you always say, make an offer, so I had more lined up. Because now I went through this whole process. I didn't trust it, and I was hesitant. So I wanted to see this close all the way. So I have nothing lined up. So now I'm kind of starting over at ground zero. And I think my single most important thing I learned is you just have to make calls and just ask. Just put it out there.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Yvonne. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so proud of you, so excited for you, because I know you're going to have new, bigger deals, more deals coming along, and congratulations, because you did it.
I did. I'm so excited. I can't, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you, because I'm pretty crazy, and I have a lot of questions and a lot of emails and a lot of insecurities about this, especially because I've never done it. I listened to some people. They sound like they have a real estate background, and I didn't even understand any of it. I didn't understand the HUD. when they talk to me, I just fake it. Just act like I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, okay. And then I'd call, what does this mean? What does this mean? And so thank you, because really you were there the whole time. Anytime I had a question between me traveling and you traveling, you always at least just answered it and constantly reassured me, just take this step or go this way or be in touch. It was really nice to have someone mentor me through this.
Well, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, you up for some questions?
Yeah, sure.
All right, guys, here's your opportunity. Question Yvonne on her first deal. Just send them to me, to the chat box. I'll relay them to her. And let's see, we have some questions coming in, I think, while we were speaking, Yvonne. Let me bring up the question board here. Well, first of all, Bill says, way to go, Yvonne. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Let's see, there's a question from Brian. From what resource did Yvonne find her deal? It was postcards, Brian, postcards.
Yeah.
And here's a question from Hoku. Aloha, Hoku. The question is, how long did it take you to find a buyer?
To find a buyer, I'd say it took less than 30 days.
Yeah, I mean, and the first at that time it was during the holidays too, wasn't it?
Right, that was the thing too, because this all started in September. It took a little bit longer, but it was all in the month of December. So I did a few inquiries, but a lot of people didn't have the 15% down. So they were just, looky-loos, like you say. And then that's when I started freaking out, because I think I had it out there about 30 days. And almost to the day, January 5th, it just like, boom. As soon as the new year hit, everyone got serious.
Yeah. You get kind of the holiday doldrums, and then that's right. And I remember the time you were calling me during that, I don't know, late December. Oh my gosh, what if I can't find a buyer? What if I can't find a buyer? Well, we'll ask for an extension, and you did that. And how difficult was it getting that extension?
It was easy. It was just, again, because this state required attorney, and I had my attorney review it. So I had some attorney costs because I had to get an attorney, before my seller got an attorney. My buyer got an attorney. So I just ran everything. I tried to do everything first, hands-on, do the format, and then I'd send it, and they'd just do some touch-ups. And then I just sent it, and they signed off, because the reality is, like you say, they want to sell it. Once you get them where they're kind of motivated to sell it, they're willing to do. This seller, look, this was like almost 6 months, but he was willing to go the distance.
Yeah, because it was his problem. He wasn't going to be able to sell it regardless. The problem is the problem. The driveway wasn't going to go away.
Right. Once he was disclosed everything, he knew what he had to do for the next person, so he was happy. And then through the buyer generator, I did get a couple more serious buyers, and then I just did what you told me. Like, I took backup offers and had them on the, first in line and second in line in case this buyer fell through.
That's perfect. Now, what you should do, you got to find some buyers interested in that market. You should be doing another follow-up, do another postcard campaign into that market, find another deal, and go back to these other buyers you've already cultivated.
Yes, and the whole time I was building an Excel spreadsheet from all my buyers that were coming in. So I built about 165 buyer spreadsheet of my own. So for the future.
All on that duplex.
All on that duplex.
I love it. I love that. You just got your buyers list started. All right, here's another question that came in from Preston. It says, how does she handle the down payment? Well, you mentioned your buyer didn't have the money for the down payment. Elaborate on that, because she was waiting for a closing to occur. Wasn't that the story?
Right, exactly. She was waiting for a closing, so she had to come up with 15%. What, $21,000? So I had done the earnest money. I used my own earnest money because I put $1,000 down. And then when she was ready, she had to come up, because she didn't have to come up with the down payment till the end of the deal when it was all closing.
Right.
So when her deal closed, she was like, okay, let's move forward. As soon as she had it, she was ready, and then that's when we found out we needed a survey. And so, and by the end, in the attorney's office, everything kind of balanced out because there was money owed from the seller, the buyer, there were deductions because of the surveys. So, and then the rents, stuff like that. And the picture you're showing, Lance, just to tell everybody, that was the only picture I had. Luckily, my buyer lived in North Carolina, so she went to look at it, and she looked on the inside, but I had no other pictures, and the seller had no other pictures either because his sister was property managing it from a different state. So, I mean, and that's not a pretty picture. That I don't know if I'd buy that house, you know?
Exactly. I know it. But people do. People do. All right, they're flooding in here. You got them going here. Let's see. Yvonne. Oh, here's a message from Anna. She said, love how she speaks for fear and then dances with it. What an inspiration. Well, that's nice, Anna.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, you were talking about the driveway and the survey. A question from Brian. What caused the recognition of this easement issue? How was that discovered?
It was discovered because we had to do a survey to detach the back land lot that was not recorded almost 15 years ago. So we had to pay for a surveyor, and the surveyor found it.
All right, here's a question that came in from Lori. Who paid for the survey?
Well, I think you said the buyer is responsible to pay for the surveyor. I think that's what.
Well, it's negotiable, but if the seller doesn't have a survey, the buyer usually pays for it.
Right. And in this case, me and the buyer were willing to even split it because we'd gotten to the point where it was like, oh my gosh, let's just do this. And my seller said, oh no, that's my responsibility. I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
So
shut up. Yeah.
It goes back to asking. You know, it was just asking, and then it was coming out of the down payment.
Right. Right. Here's a question from Gilbert. What made you decide to choose this market so far away from home to send postcards to? Well, I think I can answer that one. I think you had a family in North Carolina that you were hoping to maybe, if you go to visit it, you could deduct the trip. Is that right?
Right.
All right. We'll keep hitting more North Carolina to get that buyer's list. Let's see. We've got a Brian asked, did Yvonne use a list broker to find the deal and then send postcards? No, we did it. That's part of the program. We sent them for her.
Yeah, we just did counties.
Let's see. I'll take one more question. This is from Kenneth. It says, you said you don't have anything in your pipeline. Did you have deals that you didn't follow up with? So what was it? Are there deals you haven't are there still some sellers you can follow up with and get your pipeline fill up again?
Yes, I kind of held off on my postcards, and then you told me to get a job, remember, because I was freaking out so bad, so I got a job, and now I travel 6 days, and I'm only home for 4. It's been really crazy, and I have a lot of phone numbers that I just went through today, as a matter of fact, to start following up and touch base with people, but I really didn't get anybody who was willing. Some people sent me financials, but the price I offered them, they didn't want. I did send some stuff out, some LOIs, but no one bit. So, like you say, I mean, I think you have to constantly, it's the luck of the draw in a sense. You know, for every 10 or 20 you send, you might get one.
Numbers game.
Yeah, it's a numbers game. That's it. It's a numbers game. And I just want to say real quick, too, you know, these phone calls have really helped because when I was freaking out and having my issues, I could ask you on the Monday night calls, but also some of the other apprentices. Like we swapped emails or something, And Eddie in San Francisco really helped me because he had just gotten his deal in Las Vegas,
Yep.
and he really boosted me, like, just go for it, because it really is the fear. It's just the fear of the first.
It is the fear. That is it. The fear of the first. The fear of the first.